Hello, this is a video documentary on the education system of East Africa, created by Noemi Camps, Nujal da Silva, and Ariel Character. The reason we chose East Africa is because you can notice the huge difference between the richest and poorest parts of the country. East Africa helps us evaluate and comprehend the differences in the advantaged and disadvantaged in society when it comes to education. There is a huge gap between the richest and the poorest parts of East Africa's society, and a huge gender gap, as well as giving us a very extensive and evaluative information in order to understand the disparities in urban education. Also, the information acquired from East Africa, African education, and successful urban schools can be compared and analyzed to understand the system and how to implement solutions for equal and quality education. The key elements that will be discussed are prohibition of education in children not attending school, advantages and disadvantages in East African education, such as poverty, communication, quality, and gender, late entry and dropout, not learning basics, and lack of skills. Education in East Africa has risen since the 1990s. However, in 2010, we noted that East Africa has roughly about 4.6 million children out of school in 6 countries. Many would consider this a great progressive given that in 1999 there were about 12.5 million children not attending school. We begin to ask ourselves, why these alarming numbers and why in Africa? Let's take a look at what is occurring in East Africa. The first reason we have noticed is a low percent, when we come to notice a low percentage of children in schools is because East Africa faces many conflicts. In Uganda, for example, there is a long-running domestic insurgency called the Lord's Resistance Army. This conflict resulted in a number of internally displaced persons and people who were now facing poverty. Kenya has also seen a great deal of conflict from violent elections, making it difficult for children to go to school when the government itself is not even secure. Unfortunately, many of the children who are not attending school resides in the regions where poverty is very abundant. Poverty raises the percentage of children not attending school because it makes it very likely that children either drop out of school or just never attend. The reason many children who are in the poorest areas of the country do not attend school is because they do not have the financial means to attend. Some of these schools do not have the funding necessary to offer a good education. For example, people who live in Nairobi's slums will not be able to attend a secondary school for the simple reason there is no school available for them to attend to. Lack of nutrition is very vital in a child's cognitive development. And we see a huge lack of nutrition in East Africa. A lack of nutrition causes high infant mortality rate and children rate, death rate. A lack of nutrition, this makes students not be able to attend school. Unfortunately, the lack of nutrition causes many health problems, which impedes a child's learning abilities and their probability of even entering school.
Somalia, Kenya, Ethiopia, Sudan, all East Africa, no learning basics and lack of skills. In East Africa, the education system is reflected by the low rate learning basics and lack of skills. One of the major or most important facts affecting the education of many children in East Africa is the lack of teachers' knowledge regarding the most important subject areas as reading and numerical skills. In 2010, teachers demonstrated in their evaluations the low performance of knowledge in mathematics and readings by scoring between the 17 to 60% in the result test. The statistic reveals that the low performance in education in East Africa is consequenced by the absence of knowledge from educators. In Tanzania, 1% of the teachers had a bachelor degree in education, and about 60% had a teaching certificate, but that the rest did not seem to have any formal teacher training at all. As a conclusion of the result of the test, we can understand that the quality of education is minimal, if not absent in the system. Teachers do not participate in professional developments or improvement programs to help them to achieve the better attributes to perform their jobs. Young women in East Africa don't attend to school and be educated. No matter their socio-economic condition, ladies are not acquire the basic skills to be success in life. On the other hand, young men have better chances to be in schools, but with a low range of accomplished high level of education. Another issue is the gender gap inside education in East Africa. The school system in East Africa is run by men. In countries like Kenya, 60% of the educators are men and only 40% are women. Overall, the pattern that you can see in the entire region. On another hand, the percentage of students receiving education is divided also by the gender. Men are mostly attending to school than women, no matter their socioeconomic status. As a consequence, young women are most likely lacking the reading and mathematics foundational skills. In three of the most important countries in East Africa, children between 6 to 16 years old perform in a level of a second grader in reading and mathematics. The socioeconomic level does not make a difference in the educational system. The results reveal that among grade 3rd, students in Kenya in the richest areas perform in a 48 and numerous skills, compared with the 28% of children in poverty. In all sectors of the society, the levels of performance in students' education are unsatisfactory. The poverty in the region is evident. Many children don't attend to school. Some of the reasons are the parents' lack of education and they need to support the families by working at the early age. The government do not have the capacity to provide economic support to all areas where improvement is needed to bring the possibility of success in educational system. Rural areas in East Africa are unequal and are often characterized by poor or non-existent infrastructure and little or no provisions for other critical social services. Some researchers regarding education in East Africa suggest that if you are poor, female child currently attending to school in a rural region, you are far more likely to not be learning the critical skills such as reading, writing, and math. All of this is based on the lack of resources and the low conditions developed in their society, consequently in their education. As a consequence of the lack of foundational skills in young people, their opportunity of success is limited. The high rate of unemployment is evident in the region, and young people are forced to take jobs earning almost nothing, a salary based on the poverty wage. Adults earn better, but all based on their educational levels and foundational skills. Children are forced to work instead to go to school and be educated. Consequently, their payments are low, barrier that will be developing for the rest of their lives. Ethiopia has one of the highest rates of child labor in the world. According to one survey, half of the children aged 5 to 14 were in some form of work in 2001. The education is the base of children's success. Also, the society will be increasing their potential by establishing their high performance. Unfortunately, the lack of basic skills in education in East Africa has generated unemployment, poverty, low salaries, and rates of children working.
Some of the solutions are helping to remove secondary education barriers, along with helping to promote equality in education, provide necessary skills for the workforce, provide school programs for those who are less fortunate, whether they are rich or poor. Um, Understanding the needs of education in East Africa and helping to develop the strategies that can be implemented inside their education system. And one of the most important ones that we believe could have a major impact is ensuring that spending is taking place appropriately and that money is being distributed between the needs of all of the schools. In order to help remove secondary education barriers, there's a few things that could take place, such as helping to link primary schools to secondary schools. Many of the poorest and most vulnerable are most likely to benefit from preschool, and a lot of school age children miss out on preschool. By helping to link primary schools with secondary schools allows for the information to roll over. It allows for the students to have the necessary information in order to continue in their education. Without having this information, many of the young people in school are likely to drop out, and the enrollment rate is likely to decrease. Another solution in order to removing some barriers would be to make secondary education affordable, because there are so many high schools. I'm sorry, because there are so many students. It would be necessary in order to make more schools, in order to ensure that the schools are not just located in urban areas, but are located in areas that are that help to accommodate all students, rich and poor. Another solution in order to removing the education barrier for secondary school would be to make sure that young mothers have the support that they need in order to return to school after giving birth to students. For example, in Ethiopia, the median age for marriage among women is 3 years higher than for women who have no education or only have primary school education. In order to ensure that this takes place, there needs to be some sort of legal document that ensures that young women have the right to education if they marry early or if they are young mothers. Also, in order to reduce the issues regarding education, there need to be programs that are provided for young people that help to teach the basic foundational skills and occupational training. By providing this, it allows for those who are unable to attend to attend school to have the necessary information in order for them to survive and provide a life for themselves. Other solutions would be to make education affordable and ensure that all students have the same quality of education. This is important because the future of Africa is in the hands of the young people, and without without education, they are unable to run this. They are unable to run the government effectively. Also, the spending that is done in the different countries, if the funds are distributed appropriately by setting a certain amount to spend on education, it would help to increase enrollment. That would mean that the amount of government aid would also be essential to helping to solve these issues. There are many donors that provide funds. If the money that is used from the donors would be distributed to other countries, it would help to support education for the disadvantaged youth. For example, one scholarship in Japan would be able to fund 74 scholarships in Africa. That would provide 74 children the opportunity to have education.